By the middle of the 17th century, armies relied on a new kind of military technology. For hundreds of years, the longbow had dominated the battlefield. It had now been replaced by the musket. Much heavier than the longbow, it was more expensive to produce and had a much shorter range. But the musket had one distinct advantage. Whereas it could take years for an archer to build the upper body strength required to draw a bow, the musket could be used by almost anyone. The procedure for firing the matchlock musket was complicated, but in the right hands, a musketeer could probably fire off 2 rounds per minute. To load, he'd open the firing pan, place gunpowder inside, close the firing pan in case of wind or rain, and then bring the musket down, where he'd put powder in, a ball, wadding, and then ram it home. This is all under fire, remember. He would then bring the matchlock up, making sure the match was still ignited. He'd blow on it a couple of times, bring back the pan, bring himself up into the aim again, nice and firmly because of the kick, and then loose off the shot. You can see how the match dips into the pan, exploding this powder here, which travels into the bottom of the barrel, firing off the ball. Musketeers could work as individuals, but they were far more effective when they worked as a group, firing in volleys at the enemy, until they were maybe 10 or 20 meters away, smoke completely obliterating the battlefield. When the enemy became too near, however, this musket doubled up as a club. The infantry at Marston Moor were equipped with a whole range of ferocious-looking polearms. This is called a halberd, which is really a remnant from about 100 years before Marston Moor, and was generally used by a sergeant to either keep his troops in line or as an equalizer on the battlefield. He could bring down a cavalryman with a weapon like this. These pieces on the side were particularly effective. This one could be ground down the side of a horse as they went past. This could be used to smack into a helmet of a cavalryman perhaps, and the top bits here, when parrying a sword, could quite easily trap the sword and then snap it off. The spike on the front is self-evident and could be used against either cavalry or infantry. The infantrymen would be grouped together by regiment, closely packed, and then would advance together towards the enemy. What a terrifying experience this must have been, being faced with this wall of steel, tightly packed, poking into your face, slashing and gouging. Musketeers would be on the sides, on the flanks of the infantry, and they would fire into the enemy and then withdraw back into the safety that the pikes could afford. In response to the old feudal call of military service in return for land, thousands rallied to the king's side, just as they had done at the battles of Hastings and Bosworth. Parliament, on the other hand, paid for its soldiers with the taxes it collected. In the 2 years of civil war before the Battle of Marston Moor, both sides had been involved in major skirmishes, but neither had gained a significant advantage. In 1644, matters came to a head in the north of England. A Parliamentarian army, 28,000 strong, had closed a fist around the city of York. The garrison, commanded by the Marquess of Newcastle, had perhaps only 4,000 men. The king knew if York fell, the rest of the country would follow. He sent an urgent message to his nephew, Prince Rupert. "If York be lost, I shall esteem my crown little less. Immediately march with all your forces to the relief of the city of York." In a series of superb victories, the prince made his way north.